Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, my fellow Chibits. Today is a fucking wonderful day. Oh, today's a good day because JoJo is here. Part 4. I'm so happy. I'm so fucking happy. I'm so happy to see JoJo back. It's been too long. Oh, I'm so glad to see JoJo back already. I mean, it feels like it's already been a year or two since I've seen Part 3, and Part 3 was freaking awesome. That Dio and Jotaro fight at the end was fucking awesome. I loved Part 3 so much. I love Part 2, and I love Part 1. Very good. I love JoJo. And I'm so glad to see Part 4 finally here. It is back! Okay. I'm going to say right now, I'm just going to briefly discuss this because this is kind of my first impressions of the anime, but it is not my overall first impressions on Part 4. Let me explain. So, I have briefly read into Part 4's manga, because at the end of Part 3, I did say that I was going to read into Part 4, because I wanted to see what it was, and I didn't really expect a anime of Part 4 to come anytime soon. I didn't. So, I kind of dived into Part 4's manga a little bit. I didn't read the end of it. Haven't seen the end or anything, but I have read a little bit into it. I know, like, the character introductions and slightly some of the plot points or something, but I don't know a lot. Like, I don't know everything. So, I want to try to keep this spoiler-free. I don't want to spoil anime-onlys from the stuff I do know of, but I will say this, however, when it came to this fucking first episode, oh my god, you see the fucking anime, it's fucking great, it's fucking great. Josuke, oh my god, I love his personality. I fucking love his personality. He's an awesome JoJo. He's definitely a character I'm gonna love so much. I can't wait to see more of his character in Part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable. It's gonna be badass. Now, I do want to point out something, okay? I was reading the manga, and there was something that was entirely different compared to the manga and anime. Now, don't worry, they didn't cut nothing, from what I'm aware of, from what I can remember. It's been a while, but I just want to talk about some censorship things, which has happened constantly in JoJo. I've seen it a little bit, and it's happened all the time in Part 3, Part 2, Part 1. It's because, as we know, the mangaka of the series loves taking names from certain bands and stuff, and then, you know, because of copyright reasons, they have to change the name in the anime. Well, as we saw in the, like, you know, cut before the commercials, we get to see the name of Josuke, you know, the new main character, and we get to see the stand in its name. It was called Shining Diamond in the anime version, but in the manga version I read, it was called Crazy Diamond, and they changed it because of censorship reasons. So I wanted to point that out right now. It's not actually Shining Diamond, it's Crazy Diamond. Now that I've said that, let's dive into other stuff of this episode. Actually, no. Let me back up, because I'm probably going to get this question before I even get to this point. Like, you're all probably going to ask some questions before you even get to this point in the video. Can I watch this JoJo? Can I watch JoJo Diamond is Unbreakable? Can I start this right now without watching the previous JoJo's? No. What are you doing? Go watch JoJo Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. It's fucking wonderful. There may be a little bit of episodes, but it's a great series, and it's definitely probably going to be anime of the season of Spring 2016. Easily one of the best anime of Spring 2016. Because if I can say anything when it comes to the studio that adapts JoJo, they do it fucking right. They do it right. Even though there's some censorship here and there. Like, you know, at the beginning of this episode, we see a censorship with, you know, the hand and stuff. I'm willing to bet when, you know, the BD DVDs come out, it's going to be fine. It's going to be completely fine. It's going to be uncensored, just like how, you know, Stardust Crusaders was. It's going to be completely fine once BD DVDs come out. I'm just glad they're showing the content, and we don't have big black holes covering, you know, censorship like what we saw with, you know, Terraformars. Oh my god. That also comes out today, so I need to talk about that. I have yet to see that episode, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, though, let's talk about this episode. So, Josuke, he is our MC. He is our badass new MC. It's no longer Jotaro. It's no longer Joseph. It's no longer, you know, any other JoJo. It is now Josuke. And his character design, that's the first thing to talk about. His character design, I love it. I love his little stylish outfit. I love the heart on it. And this is my first time really talking about part 4. I haven't actually talked about it. I haven't made a video when I was doing the manga, like when I was reading it. So this is my first real time giving my impressions about, Josuke, his, demeanor, the way he, presents himself to the audience. He's a really cool looking character. His design is badass, and that's something I always love about JoJo. It has some really nice designs with a bunch of its characters, villains especially, and when it comes to Josuke's design, I have no issue whatsoever. I just love it. I'm just a big fucking fan of that heart symbol on his damn outfit. That's like one of my favorite parts. But his hair, this is the thing right now that is going to be the main topic of discussion when it comes to this episode. I know many are going to be talking about it, so let's dive into this. So Josuke, he's a really good person. Deep down, he's a very nice and calm and kind person. But if you make fun of his hair, he's about to break you in half. He's going to snap your spine and put a hole straight through you, and then re-heal you back, and then probably put a hole back in you again, and then re-heal you again. This is the type of man that Josuke is. And we get to see an example of this in this episode of how far he will go if you even remotely, slightly talk about his hair in any way, if you talk about it badly. And we get to see this. I mean, he has a fight with Jotaro. He actually tries to fight Jotaro and beat him. Thankfully, Jotaro, since he has experience with, the previous season, he knows how to fight and how to stand up against stand users. But still, the point is that Josuke, he has a scary stand, and also his demeanor, the way he presents himself, is going to add some very interesting comedy situations in the future of, the series of Part 4, and I can't wait to see exactly how the final villain is going to be with, Josuke, and probably, I wonder how his hair is going to be factored into that, but like I said, I haven't seen that, so I don't really know, but still, the design and the character personality of Josuke, the way he presents himself with, anyone that makes fun of his hair, and how far he will go. He'll punch a hole straight through you, through a woman at that. Like, he punches through a woman, and straight through this dude, and then he pulls out, and then freaking, they're healed completely fine, and then he realizes the dude has, like, a sword, or not a sword, but like a combat knife inside of him that was healed back, which is crazy. Like, Josuke's stand is already ridiculous, because this is a man that can do some crucial damage to you, but then after everything is said and done, he can fix it back. It's not exactly how it was, like it doesn't look the same, but he can put you back together where you're fine. So this leads into some of his stand abilities. Now, I'm not going to reveal everything because I don't want to spoil or nothing, but from my assumption as the first episode, what you can pull out of this is that Josuke's stand ability, it has the ability to where it can kind of reverse time on certain objects, or at the very least kind of redo things that he has caused when it comes to damage. For instance, let's say what he did to the dude when he punched him in the face, broke his nose. When you saw the dude finally fix back up, you saw his nose, everything realign, his mouth and all that was fine and all that, and it looked like he was completely fine. He didn't really have any injuries. Even though his face was completely different, he was still healed up. So Josuke's ability has somewhat of a reverse time effect, so it kind of plays into the fact of what happened in the previous season with Dio and Jotaro. As you remember, Now, I gotta say, I love this. I'm a big fan of these type of abilities, and seeing Josuke have this ability, it'll definitely add some crucial and awesome combat moments throughout the series, and probably some very funny comedic fights. Now, another thing, too, to point out as well is Jotaro's stand ability, which this is the one thing that it kind of annoyed me the most when I was reading part 4 of the manga. And I was a little bit pissed off. I'm not gonna fucking lie. I'm a little bit pissed on this, but I'll look past it just because Josuke is the main character of this, and I know he needs to be the main central role of part 4. It's not going to be Jotaro's story. As we know, with each individual generation of, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it changes its MC, and then eventually the previous JoJo's kind of pushed it back just a little bit to kind of make way for the new Joestar, and that's what's going on right now. So Jotaro, if he still had his ability, what happened in the previous season with Dio, he would probably be very fucking overpowered. Because, I mean, imagine if, Jotaro could stop time, and if he would have continued his training, like as we saw throughout this episode, he could have done some crazy shit. Like, look what Dio was doing in a small time frame. Jotaro most likely could have been crazier because he's had a lot of time to work with. So, because of this, you're left like, okay, so Jotaro no longer can really stop time as long as he used to. It's kind of weakened and all that for the sake of, you know, Josuke to be able to shine as a character throughout the season. So it really depends on how you look at that, of how you view Jotaro's ability now, with his stand of how far he could go with it. But for now, though, I'll look past it because, like I said, Josuke is the MC, and Jotaro really shouldn't be the main one that has the central spotlight. He should have his epic moments, but if he had his ability, his stand ability, and it was constantly trained throughout all of these years, I believe it would be way too OP, and it would make, like, the threat of Part 4 a little bit non-existent. So, yeah, there you go. That's something I wanted to quickly discuss. Speaking of Jotaro, though, let's look at his design. As we know, Jotaro in Part 3, Stardust Crusaders, he had a very awesome looking design. He was very built, very buff, which he still has in this season, but he constantly wore this solid black attire, and his hair was all black, and his hat, you know, matched. You couldn't tell where his hat ended and began with his hair, and you see that also as an example in this episode of Part 4. You see where Jotaro has aged. It's been a long time since the end of Part 3, and you see it to where Jotaro now has white hair, his hat's kind of white, along with his hair kind of blending into white, so you don't know exactly what is white hair and what is not white hair, so that's really cool design there, and I like how his entire outfit is white to kind of show his age, like how he's aged over time, which begs the question of how old is Joseph? Like, for instance, we know Joseph is still around and all that, like, we know how old he is necessarily, I don't know why I asked that question, but I mean, like, how does Joseph look? Because for this man to still be alive, Joseph is still fucking alive! He's still alive! What? And they're talking about his inheritance and stuff and all that throughout this episode. It's setting up for the plot line of whoever this dude is in this town. And he's also like a criminal, well-known criminal, and all that type of stuff. But just seeing how one of the main plot points is how Joseph supposedly had an affair with someone, had a child, which ended up being Josuke, and then Jotaro was delivering the message, and which caused, you know, the setup for the plot. So very good stuff here, very good content throughout, you know, this first episode of Part 4. From what I can remember, adapted everything properly, and I have no issue whatsoever with it. So yes, everybody, Part 4 is here. Cannot wait to see where it's going to go from this point onward. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.